guys. Hey guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing absolutely amazing today. Whenever you're watching this, it is 11 o'clock at night for me. But maybe you're watching this in the morning. I love watching ASMR at like 10 a.m. when I know I should be doing things, but it's just so much more relaxing doing that. But I hope you're all doing amazing. I'm filming this late. I just filmed a little 10-minute story time talking about pastry school, and I thought it would be fun to make a continuation of that video talking about pastry school finals. Now, I went to pastry school right out of high school. It was a 1.5-year long program that I really enjoyed, but it was also stressful. I've never been good at taking tests. High school, elementary school, I've never been good at taking tests. It's always stressed me out. So pastry school finals were even more stressful because not only did we have to take a test, a written test, we had to do we had to bake something. I can't even think of what that word is at the moment, but we got evaluated on whatever we were baking. So let's just walk through each of the classes. The first class, we drew little slips of what we had to be baking, and the choice was chocolate chip cookies or an angel food cake. Now, I don't know if you've made chocolate chip cookies or an angel food cake, but the process of both are very different. Chocolate chip cookies are a creaming method where you're creaming butter and sugar and then adding the dry ingredients and stuff like that. Angel food cake is whipped egg whites and sugar. And I pulled angel food cake, and normally okay, whatever, yes, it's a harder thing to do, but whatever. I had made angel food cake in that class before because it was something that we had made already. They weren't just throwing you to the wolves. It was something that we had made. My angel food cake was horrible. There's a lot that can go wrong when you're whipping egg whites because that is the only process for something to rise. So if something gets messed up, your cake is flat, and that's basically what happened. So I was really nervous doing this, but I was okay, I'm gonna take my time. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get through it. I made sure my bowl was super clean. There was no residue. I made sure to whip those egg whites to stiff peaks. Make sure when I was folding all the ingredients and I was not deflating those egg whites, my angel food cake was chef's kiss beautiful. And I think my written test went pretty well too. I think I got a 90 on my written test. So first class, good. Midterm, good. Final in that class, we had to make some sort of tart. I was all good on that except for making pastry cream. I just don't like making pastry cream. But essentially it was all good. I really liked that teacher. She was really nice. She was really good at teaching you the basics. So that was really, really good. My next class was bread class, and if you watched my last video, I talked about how breads was not my thing. It's still not my thing. I don't like making bread. I like it a little bit more now, but it was really stressful then. Our first final was a baguette. I think the first final was a baguette, and my baguette just came out so bad. And part of the final was rolling your dough out in front of the chef, and I don't know. I just didn't go well. My baguette was very, very hard, and baguettes should be light and fluffy, and they gradually get harder, but light and fluffy when you first make it, and it was not. It did not have that nice brown color. It was a very pale baguette. I don't think I did very well. I think I got a C on that, which was not good. It was stressful. I was stressed. Yeah, breads just stressed me out. So that was our midterm, and a big part of that midterm was we had to do baker's percentages, which was totally fine. I had just come from high school. Math was class was good. My next class was the candy and a cake class. So our first final was making like chocolates, so tempering chocolates and filling them. And I just was a mess that final. I dropped my thermometer in the stove, which sucked. So temperatures were off. My chocolate did not want to harden. The whole reason you temper chocolate is so that you can melt it to the right place, and when it cools off, it hardens in the right way. If you've ever left a candy bar out in the sun or in the car, and then you've put it in the fridge and taken it out, it might have white marks on it, and that's called bloom, and that's essentially because your chocolate was not tempered in the right way. So you had to make sure it was tempered in the right way, and made sure it flipped out of everything right. It just made sure that it was all a cohesive chocolate truffle type of situation, that the filling was nice. She cut through them, made sure they looked good. Yeah, my chocolates did not want to harden, so I had to throw them in the freezer a couple of times, and eventually we got there. But spoiler alert, the next day they started to have bloom on them. Good thing it was just an hour, a one class final, so I only had to leave them out for an hour for her to check them. That was rough though. If my thermometer would have not fallen in the stove, I'm sure I would have done better. Next final was making a layered cake, and part of this final was you had to bake the cakes correctly. You had to fill them and dirty ice it correctly. So 2 layers, made sure that they were leveled right, cut right, filled right, and then you had to frost them and make sure that you frosted it right, and then you had to do a piping design that you came up with. If I can find a picture, I'll put it in of what my cake looked like. It's not amazing, but I was dealing with a very hot kitchen, and this was the first cake that I had decorated in years, so it was not amazing, but I think I did pretty well. And honestly, that made me fall in love with decorating again. I absolutely loved that class. It was my favorite class. I'm pretty sure I really enjoyed doing that class. So I did really good on that final. I really enjoyed that final. It was a little stressful. I ran out of frosting. Icing and frosting are different for anyone that wants to know. Ran out of frosting, had to make more. It was a little stressful, but ended up going really well. The last class was horrible. I hated this class. It was my least favorite class besides breads. it was so bad. It was a lemon meringue tart, and we also had to make meringue for the design on the plate. And we had to do, sorry, there's a car driving past. It's midnight. There's a car driving past. We had to do this like sugar work isomalt type of situation, and we only had one oven, so we all had to put like our isomalt in at the same time. Mine was ugly.